It's a very warm welcome to everybody tuned in to the Real Talk Show. Welcome to the Real Talk Show. Today we are tackling a crisis that's casting a dark spell over our nation, Zambia. This is defilement. Headlines scream daily about raising cases, shattering the innocence of our children, our sisters. But beyond the shock and outrage, we must ask, what fuels this devastating trend and what has changed from yesterday to today? Today on the show, we're diving deep into what some of the contributing factors of defilement then and now. And to help me discuss this, I have 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗆 𝗵𝗶𝘀 as well as 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝘍𝗆 to help us discuss this issue that is causing so much sadness in the nation today. Kelvin, as well as 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗆, welcome to the Real Talk Show.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure.
Okay, and of course, we welcome you, our viewers, once more to the Real Talk Show. My name is George, and we'll be here for the next couple of minutes. Please, if you have any questions, any comments, please ensure that you post them in the comment section and we'll be able to respond to them as quickly as possible. So I think it's always ladies first. We'll start with you, 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗆. All right, could you tell us a bit about yourself and also what works you're involved in?
Oh, okay. So my full names are 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗆. I work for Contact Trust Youth Association, or CTYA. I'm a project coordinator. So CTYA is a youth-focused organization that advocates for sexual reproductive health and rights for young people. So we are passionate about creating an environment where young people are able to access information and services in a safe environment. Yeah.
Okay. Now, drawing from your experience with your work with CTYA and just as a local resident in Livingston, could you share some of your insights on issues related to defilement and how it was perceived then and how it was handled compared to the situation that we're witnessing currently?
Okay. If you can all agree with me, in the past, defilement was something that was not talked about openly. If a child was defiled in a home, parents or families would rather resolve it privately just within the family and not let any outsiders know about it. And sometimes in other instances, actually the abused child would actually be married off to the perpetrator or the abuser, which was a very sad situation. But over the past few years, we've seen a shift. People are coming out more to speak about these issues and are reporting these cases. And I think we've seen that on social media. People are now reporting these issues and communities actually coming out to actually condemn these acts. So it's progressive. We are getting there, but we still have more work to do. But I'm just glad to see that actually there are more people that are coming out to speak out on such cases.
Okay, so like in your work, okay, we'll still get back to your work, 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗆. You are more likely to interact with families affected by defilement. And if you have, could you shed some light on what kind of challenges and difficulties these families face often after the aftermath of such incidences? And what are some of the common issues you have observed, if there's any?
Okay, we've had a couple of we have interacted with a couple of families that have been affected. And it's usually emotional when we are interacting with these families because, you know, the trauma does not only affect the victim, but it affects the family as well, you know. And sometimes the family sort of feel guilty for what has happened to their child because they blame themselves to say, maybe we should have seen it coming, we should have paid more attention.
Okay. Looks like 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝗍𝗆 has dropped off. I'm sure we'll pick it up when she joins us once more. For Kelvin, once again, welcome to the show. Just a little bit about your work, a little bit about yourself before getting through the nitty-gritties of today's discussion.
I think for me, basically, there's not so much talk about myself. I'm a journalist by profession. Been in this industry for close to 17 years now. So my work really borders on two provinces as a journalist. My focus is Southern and Western province. So apart from that, I'm also a coordinator for media network on child rights and development for Livingstone. So that actually kind of complements the works that I do as a journalist, as well as a child rights activist. And my work involves gathering of news, talking to people, investigating stories, and also ensuring that the public is well informed. The public is given accurate information at the right time.
That's great, Kelvin. So from your perspective of covering news in Zambia for the past 17 years, particularly the recent surge of reported defilement cases, what shifts or trends have you observed in the nature and the frequency of these incidences compared to the past?
Could you please come again? Your line is breaking, so I barely could get what you're saying.
I was saying from your perspective, covering news, particularly the recent surge in the reported defilement cases, what shifts or trends have you observed in the nature of the frequency of these incidents compared to the past?
I think compared to the past, the trends that we have seen is that in the past, you would find that most of these cases had to do with strangers, for example, people away from your home, people away from your family circles. But the trends that you're observing now is that these cases are now more common in our homes. Okay, so in our homes, that's where these cases are coming from, because most of the cases that we've actually uncovered, especially in Livingstone, I would mention right here that Livingstone is one of the districts in the province or in the country that has also recorded a lot of cases of defilement, cases of rape, and also cases of sodomy, especially in the last 4 or 5 months. So the trend is that this is coming, it's now coming home. You know, previously it used to be a taboo. Even as it was rare for me to cover stories of defilement, of rape, because it was, we used to call them once-off kind of stories. But now they're more frequent. They're more of breaking news than even these political stories per se. So that's a trend that we have observed. And also my observation is that right now, what I've observed is that people are coming out. People are coming out because, one, they feel now the police is more friendly because of the victim support unit that actually has been revamped, you know, that has been revamped, the victim support unit, as well as the officers that have been trained to deal with issues related to children, issues related to abuse, and also issues to do with the women empowerment, and also issues of counseling. So people have seen that now the police is a safe space. Previously, people to sort out issues on their own, but now the enforcement agencies have become more friendly and more open, and people are able. The question why one would ask, why have they become more open, is because the media also has done its work properly. The media now has shifted its attention from just talking about politics and talking about issues of governance to looking at human interest stories. So it is through human interest stories that you're able to uncover these stories. You say, actually, these cases of defilement, of sodomy, are right at our doorsteps. And because we're uncovering that, people are appreciating and now are able to come out. Wherever there are cases, now people are freely coming out and say, okay, my child was defiled by the father, my child was defiled by the uncle, or this child was sodomized. I think for me, that's a trend that is there, and that's where we are. It's both alarming because now statistics are coming out, but it's also good that these issues are being uncovered.
So, Kelvin, I was almost tempted to call you by your other name. Have you noticed? Have you noticed any specific contributing factors that seem to be constantly being highlighted in these defilement cases you have covered recently in your newspaper?
No, actually, you see, I did my own investigations. People would want to know that actually between February and March, we had about 4 sodomy cases in Livingstone, 2 rape cases in Livingstone. Then we had 3 defilement cases in Livingstone. Now, what was interesting was that these cases happened in one area. And that is 𝗬𝗶𝗸𝗆𝗆. There's a place called Railways and part of Linda. So now imagine 4 sodomy cases, 2 rape cases, and about 3 defilement cases in one area in a space of 2 months. So for me, that caught my attention, and I need to actually find out what was exactly going on. First of all, I know people talk about issues of unemployment. In this area, I actually discovered that people in this area take a lot of alcohol. That's 1. 2, people in this area take a lot of sexual boosters. So they're abusing these sexual boosters. Then also 3, we have people in this same area that want to become rich faster. So some of them are being deceived by witch doctors to say, okay, if you sleep with your niece, if you sleep with your nephew, if you do this, then you become rich. Due to poverty levels per se, people now are venturing into these biases, want to become rich faster, and in the end, we have also a lot of witch doctors coming through into Livingstone and deceiving these people that can become rich by defiling a child, or they can become rich by gang raping a woman. To some extent, we had a situation where this woman was raped, and the gentleman had to get the semen after raping that woman, and God knows why they took that same semen after sleeping with this woman. So these are trends observed in an area that I specifically had interest in. So those are things that are coming up. People want to get richer faster. They are into issues of rituals. There are people having taking a lot of these sex boosters, and also people abusing alcohol. So those are some of the things that have actually been observed.
Okay, thank you so much. I just noticed also Stephanie has dropped off again. But if you're joining us, welcome to the show. Today we're talking about defilement, the causes, then and now defilement, and what are the contributing factors to this issue. So we've just recently heard from, I actually watched a news item the other day. I thought, where are we missing it, Kelvin? As a nation, where are we missing it? Isn't the police doing enough, or are the journalists not raising so much awareness around this issue? Because it's almost in every news item, almost every week.
Yeah, for me. So for me, for journalists and other media practitioners, I think they're doing a very commendable job, and that's the more reason now we're having a lot of headlines. Instead of politics making headlines, we're having defilement cases making headlines, because people are also coming up. Where are we missing it? Where we're missing it is that we've put so much trust in people. Okay, we've put so much trust in people who are not reciprocating that love, for example. So you leave your child with the uncle, with the brother, and thinking they are safe. Okay, not knowing that behind that same child is being abused. But where we are not doing so much is that we need to put in more effort in issues of child safeguarding. Journalists need to raise awareness in ensuring that people know the processes of child safeguarding, on how a child needs to be protected. Because right now, as it is, the way we talk about issues of malaria, we talk about issues of mpox, we're talking about issues of TB, is the way we need to put in more effort in talking about issues of safeguarding the rights of children, and ensuring that also perpetrators are given harsh punishments. Because in the past, we've seen, for example, defilement cases where the case goes to court, or before it goes to court, the family withdraws. So you ask them, why have you withdrawn the case? You know, want to sort it as a family. When this man goes, he's a breadwinner. For example, there was a case 2 weeks ago where those women went to try to bribe a police officer to release the man who had defiled his own daughter. You see, the daughter was defiled, and these women, and he's in a polygamous marriage. So these women, they gang up, go to the police station, and try to bribe an officer that this man is released, because if he goes to jail, he'll suffer. But who's looking at the plight of the child? The child will never be the same again. That trauma, the child will live with it for so many years. So that's why we need to invest more resources and also invest more energy in terms of ensuring that we create awareness on issues of child safeguarding. Because now a child is not safe anywhere. Teachers are fighting children, teachers are raping pupils, teachers are raping fellow teachers. So there's no place for a child that is safe. So we need to ensure that we create safe spaces for a child. Where a child should not be scared to go back home. A child should not be scared to go to school. A child should not be scared to be at the neighbor's place as she waits for the mother to pick her up. Okay? So also, the issue that is there right now, what I've observed is that there's so much political will. There's so much political will. Just 2 days ago, the mayor, the district commissioner, they led all church mother boards, even start organizations, NGOs, in trying to speak against this trend where children are being abused day in, day out. And now they're saying there should be no bond, there should be no bail for someone who has defiled a child. So they are calling for stiffer laws. And we are happy now that even the judiciary now has taken a step where if someone wants to withdraw a defilement case, it's practically now impossible to withdraw a defilement case, because they know someone will just give you a 10,000 question and say, can you drop the case? The next thing you see, the case is dropped, sort it out, but the child still remains traumatized. This will affect the child emotionally, physically, spiritually, and you find that even the academic work of that child will absolutely be highly compromised.
Okay, thank you so much for that one, Kelvin. Now, considering the national outcry over these increased cases, what are some of the most pressing questions that the policymakers and the relevant authorities need to address urgently, in your opinion?
No, but for policymakers, I think the call for them is just one. It's just to take laws, to take bills, to take suggestions from civil society and make them law. Because, like I mentioned, the issues of the issue of defilement being non-bailable, okay, and also ensuring that the sentences for defilement also be stretched. Okay, so instead of one getting 15, 10, 15 years, let them be imprisoned for life. Because we've seen the situations where others have come out of prison and they've continued with the same trend. Like there's the incident that happened in 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝘀, where an ex-convict went and raped 3 women, even killing one. So meaning some people are not. So ours now is to ask lawmakers to do the right thing. And government has already shown its political will addressing this matter. And that's why day in, day out, this issue is being talked about. The president has been the forefront to talk about the protection of children and protection of women. And also, now, not forgetting also the protection of boys as well. Because boys, because somehow they've been neglected, they've now become unruly, and now we're calling them junkies. They are the ones now, because they're high on drugs, they also end up young girls and also being older women. So now we need to also find time for the boy child. And my appeal is to policymakers and the government to see how best they can create platforms for the boy child. There's so much attention on the girl child. I know Stephen likes talking about girls, but there's so much attention on the girl child, and we are forgetting that now the boy child is becoming something else. It's becoming alien. So government needs to invest resources on how to rehabilitate boys, as well as come up with laws that will effectively protect the girl child. We know we have the Child Code Act, but we can do more in ensuring that the perpetrators or would-be perpetrators, even if they are sexually aroused, once it comes to that they'll be imprisoned for life, they'll actually know how to control their hormones or control their feelings and do the right thing.
Okay, thank you for that one. Now, I know everyone is talking about cases, the laws, the strictness of the law, or the relaxations of some laws, or how the police, you did mention how the police service now is viewed as a bit moderate, more than it was a force back then, so much that certain people are, for lack of a better term, seem to go ahead and commit these crimes, and yes, of course, without that fear of the police. Now, I really don't want to dwell on that. I want to talk about the victims. So I'll get back to you, Stephanie. Welcome back once more. Before you dropped off earlier, we were talking about the interactions that you have with families affected by defilement, and you were explaining something. So I don't know, maybe you could pick it up from there before we continue with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah, my network is really bad. I hope it gets better from here. Yeah, I was talking about how emotional that have been affected or have a child that has been defiled, because the trauma does not only affect the child, it affects the family as well, you know. And sometimes the society will blame the victim, and the family says, maybe you should have paid more attention to your child's environment, you should have paid more attention to how your child was dressing, you should have paid more attention to who your child was interacting with, which is not supposed to be the case. Society is supposed to support, you know, the family that has been affected and protect the girl child. But usually we see society or the community blaming families, and that puts so much pressure on families. And sometimes also in instances where the family wants to report a case, sometimes they're intimidated, especially if the perpetrator was somebody influential in the society or in that community, or somebody that had a higher advantage in terms of financial status. So they sort of intimidate the family using that, and the family will draw back and not report such cases. So really, I think we need to do better as a society and support families that have been affected by such cases.
Thank you, Stephanie, for that contribution. I noticed one thing. There's feedback. I suppose you have two browsers opening. You may need to close the other browser. I also seem to be giving out feedback. I think on my tablet there's another browser that's open. But thank you for your contribution. I still want to get back to you. Maybe as you do that, let me get quickly to 𝗬𝗏. 𝗬𝗏, once these the perpetrators are taken to the police station, the process begins. What process, according to the media, what mechanism are there that you have seen or reported that have been put in place to support the young, the victims of defilement?
No, actually, one thing, the mechanisms that are there are still the same, and that's one call that you should make, because the process, for example, for a defilement case is too long. There was one defilement case that we had involving 𝗟𝗏 and the 𝗬𝗏, and it took close to 2 years. Okay, the teacher was only convicted some 2 months ago. So mechanisms that should be put in place is that for any defilement case, there should be a fast-track court, so that the case is disposed of within the shortest period of time, sometimes even just 1 week. Okay, if there is conclusive evidence within a week, would want this case disposed of, because the more these cases prolong, the more the whole process is compromised. In between, you have witnesses being blocked. We've had cases of witnesses being bribed, where a witness just pulls out and disappears. We've had the situations where even the same victims changing goalposts. Okay, I think there was one case where this girl changed the goalposts and said, actually, this was consensual. I was not really raped. I was not defiled. Actually, I'm not even 16. I'm 18. You know, such. You can tell that something happened in between. Yeah. So mechanisms that should be put in place is that through the judicial processes, there's need to ensure that defilement rape cases are fast-tracked, so that people serve, they face the wrath of the law, and also what we need, other mechanisms that should be put in place also, identify safe spaces where maybe the Ministry of Health would come up with a dedicated clinic, a dedicated hospital that will handle issues of defilement and rape. What experts have mentioned is that from the time the person is defiled or raped to the time that examinations are done, you find that a lot of hands would have touched the victim. And when these issues go, when the tests go to the lab, you find that they're not conclusive, because there will be DNA for George, for Kelvin, as well as the perpetrator. And now it's sometimes difficult to make it conclusive. And that's one thing that even the police have appealed to the Ministry of Health, to ensure that there's a dedicated hospital or clinic in all the districts that looks at issues of sexual and reproductive health.
Okay, so now, Kelvin, I know this is probably not your department, but I would like to get your view on this one. I'm thinking about the mental health aspect. Maybe Stephanie, you're free once this question is posed. I'm talking about the victim. Welcome back to the sport. I'm talking about the victim, the mental health that the individual, the baby, the child goes through while all these processes taking place. Like you said, it's 2 years. The person, the perpetrator is out there coming back to intimidate her and her mental health even after it is done. What is the process? Who's there to help her? Stephanie, I understand you work with girls. Do you deal with such issues in your work? Then we can get to you, Kelvin. Did you get the question, Stephanie?
Can you repeat that? It was breaking.
Okay, so I'm saying my mind is going to the victim. While it's this whole process of the perpetrator being prosecuted, eventually being sentenced, Kelvin said sometimes it takes about 2 years, maybe even more. What about the victim's mental health? What happens to her? The fact that this person is still a family member or community member and still shows up. I'm thinking, who helps her? What help is available? I understand you work with girls. Do you find similar cases in your work?
Yeah, so as for us, how we help the victims, obviously defilement is really traumatizing to the victim, and it can be really draining emotionally. So for us, we have partnered with a helpline called Anti-Tasha Helpline, which is a toll-free line and a confidential toll-free line that offers information on sexual reproductive health and also psychosocial counseling. So the helpline offers psychosocial counseling to victims of defilement, rape, and GBV. So what the helpline does is it takes the victim through phases of counseling. So through that process, the victim is able to get support from the counselors just to make sure that they, just to help them sort of go through the process and not alone as well, because sometimes, they feel alone, and they start blaming themselves to feel like they brought that upon themselves. But the counselors just make sure that they support these victims throughout the process and just make sure that they do not feel alone. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that one. Kelvin, would you like to also tackle that question? Your mic is muted.
You still muted my mic. Are you able to get me?
Okay. Yes.
Yes. So for me, it's about safe spaces. It's about safe houses. You can have these conversations and take them through all these processes of healing, but you find that people, they still go back to the same place where the perpetrator is, because the perpetrator may be given bond, may be given bail, and then this girl still sees this person moving freely. So it actually torments them. In some instances, there are these victims that are threatened. If this case continues, this will happen. So for me, NGOs, civil society organizations, in partnership with the government, come up with process where in such a case, a child needs to be taken to this place where the processes that Stefan was talking about can be actually undertaken, and the child feels safe. And then the other point is that I talked about, where issues of defilement, issues of rape should not be bailable, should not be bondable. Because as long as the person is given bail, as long as the person is on bond, they'll still have an encounter with the victim. And on the other end, the victim will be traumatized, because issues of forced sexual intercourse, issues of one forcing himself on a child, they're so traumatizing. We've seen women that actually don't love men. You see, they don't want to see any man. I know two people that don't have any kind of regard for a man because of what they went through growing up. So 2 points for me, that's safe houses and this is not available or bondable. That should just be the way to go, because as long as they mingle, as long as the perpetrator is let loose, they're not safe, and mentally they will never be safe, and they just drain them, and in the end they may just become depressed. In some instances where even children now committing suicide after being defiled.
Thank you so much. If you just joined us, this is the Real Talk Show, the show that comes your way every Friday at 14 hours right here on TYP's Facebook page. We are also live on YouTube. Today's discussion is the contributing factors of defilement then and now. And joining us is Stephanie as well as 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝘀 𝗙𝗿𝗂𝗧. 𝗬𝗵𝗶𝘀 𝗙𝗿𝗂𝗧 is the Southwest Bureau Chief for Times of Zambia newspaper, and Stephanie is project coordinator for Contact Trust Youth Association CTYA in Livingstone. So guys, I want to find out, there are cases that we are hearing every day on the news, and then there are those that are not reported, that are just resolved within the community. You work with an organization, Stephanie. Are there any deliberate actions or strategies that you have to sort of investigate, not to really shake up the tree, but to sort of find a way to pick out the unreported cases? And also on your side, Kelvin, as a journalist, are there any strategies that you would like to employ as a journalist to find a way to get to the unreported cases? Because the ones that we're reporting, the ones that you are reporting as journalists, are the ones that are already at the police station, if I'm not mistaken. But what about the ones that are in the community that nobody's hearing of, because he's a breadwinner? What strategies do you both have to ensure that all these stories are uncovered and justice is served?
Okay. So on our part, we usually have what we call engagement meetings. So we do not really interact with the victims directly. So what we do is we have found ways in which to engage the community leaders, such as the civic leaders and also the traditional leaders. We recently had a project on gender-based violence. And what we did is we decided to take this from the grassroots to involve traditional leaders, because especially such cases usually happened in raw setups, where such issues are usually just like resolved within that community. You just call the traditional leaders, the elders, and they sit and sort of find solutions. So our engagement meetings involved encouraging these leaders, the headmen, to say, as much as you try to resolve such issues, I think it's high time you start involving the actual authorities when such cases happen. Obviously, you can do your own resolving, but some cases actually just need the actual authorities to carry them, because if not, I mean, these situations will continue happening. Yes, unreported cases will continue happening in that community. So what we did is just really encourage the traditional leaders to just always report these issues to the actual authorities. Yeah.
Okay, so please keep sending your questions and comments regarding anything that is happening in your neighborhood with regards to defilement. Would like to read and learn a bit more about what's happening in your community, and maybe we could find the necessary people to respond to that. Do not sit on defilement. Please report defilement as and when it happens. My name is George, and this is the Real Talk Show. Maybe I never got to ask you this question, but Kelvin did respond to this one. Stephanie, in your own view, your own experience, your own engagements with communities as well as families who have members affected by defilement cases, what do you think, or what do you see as the main contributing factors in these cases?
Okay, so for us, I think when I was introducing myself and the organization, I think I did mention to say we are more into providing information and services, but we focus more on information. So I feel like there's lack of information that's being given to these young people. Sex education. I know a lot of parents would say, no, our children are too young to learn about education. But what we always say is, if you are not going to teach your children on sexual education, somebody else will. And they'll not even do it in the right way. And this was where the cases of defilement comes in. So I think it's high time that parents took up, or guardians took up the initiative to talk to their children about boundaries and consent, about good touches and bad touches. Because once a child is able to know what is not right, they'll be able to report to say, okay, somebody has been making some advances on me. And then the family will take up, will take it up from there. So I think it's high time that we really emphasize on sex education for young people, especially children, just to teach them on, especially on boundaries and consent. Saying, if somebody touches you in a certain way, how you respond, or please report to me. And also, as we talk about sex education, parents in their household as well should make their children feel safe and free to be able to report, because there are households where the child is even scared to talk to their parents or their guardians. So if anything ever happens outside there, they'll never tell anybody, they'll just keep it to themselves. So I think parents should, or guardians, should really create a safe environment where a young person or their children are able to speak freely and express themselves freely if anything ever happens to them.
Okay, so you just really touched on the other question that I wanted to find out, like the next steps, unless there's any other additions that you'd like to make. So my question was going to be, what do you think and believe are the most effective and constructive steps that we should take, maybe as Livingstone, and then we can pick it up from there. We take as Choma, Lusaka, to address the issue of defilement and better protect the children. Unless maybe you'd like to add on that, because I also heard from your previous contribution here that you are speaking to that. But unless you want to touch a little bit or add on that, you're more than welcome. Like the next steps.
Okay. So the next step, actually, I think we've already started. We've seen people come out in numbers. I think the past few weeks, or I'd say a month, we've seen communities come out, and do solidarity walks, against child defilement. I think that's the first step that I've seen people take. To say enough is enough, we are tired, and it's time that we put this behind us. It's time we protect our children. So coming together is the first step, and I've really enjoyed seeing that, and I hope that continues. So the next step, I think, is now, the government should hear our cries to say, I think I heard Kelvin talk about, it's time that the authorities stiffened the laws, So it's high time that the authority now hears our cry and stiffen the laws for these abusers or perpetrators. Remove bond, no bail, and also maybe just increase the years of imprisonment, whether it's life imprisonment or whether you're castrating them, whatever you do, just something. Yes, exactly. A stiffer law that people will be scared of, because if somebody decides to devour a child, they'll be like, I'll be out in 15 years. And sometimes people don't even change. When they come back, they continue with the act. So I think it's high time that, it's high time that government actually listen to our cry. I think as individuals, I think we started taking up the steps. We have started coming out and speaking out on these issues. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much. Once again, if you just joined us, you are on the Real Talk Show. My name is George. We're with Stephanie as well as Kelvin. We're talking about the contributing factors of defilement. and also comparing defilement cases to then and now. If you have any other information that you would like to share with us, please feel free to quickly type out that information in the comment section. We'll be able to respond to that. And Stephanie, as we come to the end of the show, I would like to thank you so much for being part of this great show. If there are any other words that I don't want to say last words, closing remarks. If you have
well, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure being part of this discussion. Unfortunately, my network has been pretty bad. I kept dropping off and coming back. But really, I think we did discuss a little bit of everything. My last words would be, let's continue speaking up as a society, as a community. Let's not protect the abusers, whether it's your partner, whether it's your husband, whether it's your father that did that act. Let's report them. Let's protect the girl child instead. Let us put the victim first before the abuser. Because I mean, if it's not us that are going to protect this child, then who? You know what I mean? So let's continue to speak out and report these cases.
All right, so thank you once again, and Kelvin in absentia, thank you to you for making all those contributions. And also, Kelvin did speak about one interesting fact: the fast tracking of the perpetrators, the defilement cases, which I think should happen, because once this case stays for too long, a lot of intimidation comes about. So once again, Stephen, thank you so much. To our viewers, thank you. This is not the end of this discussion. We continue on our Facebook platforms and all our social media platforms, the contributing factors to defilement then and now. And you must remember that this show is brought to you with compliments of Action Aid Zambia through the youth-led advocacy project that TYP is currently implementing in Southern as well as Eastern Province. For myself and the rest of the team, Rachel, thank you so much, and Pinch Media. It's bye-bye until next week. Peace.